Hello. Just thought I'd come on and do a quick live about what happened in the Dáil today and answer people's questions about it. People have presumably seen the news by now that we were due to elect a Taoiseach today, but instead the Dáil was suspended, I think, on 4 occasions in total, and then ultimately suspended until tomorrow when we will meet again. The reason for this is the government was attempting a very rotten, corrupt stroke to facilitate government backbench TDs, the supporters of Michael Lowry, those in the regional independent group, to allow those to be in the government, to have negotiated the programme for government, to have written the programme for government, to have ministers in the government, and yet also to sit on the opposition benches and to take up opposition time and opposition resources. Why did they want this to happen? Because one, it's more resources, it's more speaking time for the opposition, the so-called opposition TDs, the fake opposition. Fair play to Cathy. And two, it's an attempt to make it more difficult for the real opposition to hold the government to account. So that's what they were trying to push through, and then push through a 2-week holiday. Verona Murphy was Ceann Comhairle. She became Ceann Comhairle as part of this rotten deal that resulted in the formation of this government, all these cronies, all these extra jobs, all this extra money for Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, but then Michael Lowry's people. And they attempted to ram it through, and we didn't accept it. And I think that was absolutely correct. I've seen absolute nonsense being spoken by Micheál Martin and Simon Harris about a subversion of the Constitution, all this kind of ridiculous stuff. You know, there's nothing in the Constitution saying that the Taoiseach had to be elected today. It's ridiculous. The subversion of democracy that was happening here was the attempt to say that we can run with the hare and the hound and be on both the government side and the opposition side at the same time. There were discussions in the course of the day about finding a resolution. The resolution is pretty clear. These people should not be taking opposition time. If standing orders needs to be amended to get to that point, fine. We're happy to do that. We were happy to see a Dáil Reform Committee set up, which I would have been on for our group, to draft that standing orders. But we couldn't, what the things broke down over was the idea that we wanted a clear commitment that we would find a solution that the opposition would be happy with as well as the government. In other words, that the government couldn't use its majority on the Dáil Reform Committee or the Business Committee or in the Dáil to simply ram this through. Because what was the government thinking today? Why did they decide to pursue what they did? You know, they knew they would take some political flack, but they thought that they would they'd take some heat today, but then they get over it. People forget about it. They kick it off to some committee, goes nowhere. They then continue to do what they want to do, which is to allow them to be opposition and government at the same time. And then just ram that through. And by then, public interest is gone, media interest is gone, and so on. From their perspective, that's what they're hoping. And then they get a good 5 years of this, where the opposition has less time to hold them to account. So that's what they were doing, and that's why it was correct to, bring things to a head today. I just have to look through the comments. Please feel free for ask any questions you want, because I'm sure there was a lot happening. Even in there was a lot happening. I go from the start. Sorry. Hi, Anto. Fair play to all those outside the Dáil till 9 o'clock. I was there for a little bit, demanding the implementation of the Occupied Territories Bill. This is another rotten failure by the government, a betrayal of election promises to implement that. Now they're going to scrap it and replace it with something much, much, much weaker. Did Danny Healy-Rae get his government-issued Nokia? I'm not sure, but I heard that Michael Healy-Rae was on drive time and hung up because he didn't like being asked questions. So I'm not sure how he's going to get on in government. Thanks, Hazo. And that's great to hear that, Cara. Yeah, I mean, it was good to see the opposition working together today, no question about it. And hopefully is an indication of what can be done in the future. Other comments along the same lines. Can Lowry, yeah, good point. Can Lowry be penalised for admitting he's been subverting the opposition? He can't. I mean, the people who can penalise him and really need to penalise him are the people in his constituency. They're the ones who can. But people may not have seen this. But Lowry said, "Oh no, I've been doing this for 25 years. 25 years I've been supporting the government from the opposition benches." He actually said this. I agree about being surprised by Labour. Neve's question: what will happen tomorrow? That's not clear. I think there was talk that there was a meeting happening between Mary Lou McDonald and the Ceann Comhairle, Verona Murphy, this evening. I don't know what was going to emerge from that. A joint statement was issued by all of the opposition to Micheál Martin and Simon Harris, a letter saying we need to have a meeting to discuss this, to find a way forward. To find a way forward has to be on the basis of you can't be in the opposition at the same time as being in the government. Do we have agreement on that? Earlier on, they were refusing to have such a meeting. So I don't know that Dáil is due to meet at 10 a.m. Tomorrow. So, yeah, we don't know. We might be in the position that exactly the same happens tomorrow as happened today. Or they might have felt the pressure and now they concede. I mean, the other thing that happened today, which is interesting, is that the Michael Lowry's group is only able to do it. So in order to have a technical group in the Dáil, a technical group, first of all, exists for members of the opposition. That's what it says in the standing orders, right? But apart from that, to have a technical group, you need to have 5 TDs. So Lowry's group has, including Healy, Danny Healy-Rae, they have 4. So they're only able to do this because other TDs are in their group with them. Up until today, that was 2 Aontú TDs, Peadar Tóibín and the new fellow who got elected, I can't remember his name, Paul something, I think. There's the 2 of them. Mattie McGrath joined them today, or last night, I think, and Carol Nolan, who'd be quite close to Mattie McGrath politically and would have kind of gone along with a lot of the Healy-Rae stuff in the last Dáil term. And today, under pressure, so Peadar Tóibín has been saying, well, we're going to stick with this, pretending that if they left this group, they'd get no speaking time. But it was always clear they could just go to a different group, the Independent Ireland group, and get speaking time there. And then today, Aontú left that group. So that's good. That means they're now down to 6. They got 4 of the 4 Lowry people. And then they've got Carol Nolan and they've got Mattie McGrath. So the other way that this can end in a positive way is that Mattie McGrath, Carol Nolan, people who like to put on that they're great opponents to the government, at the moment are enabling this farce to happen. They're enabling these people to act as if they're part of the opposition when actually they're part of the government, and led by the most profoundly corrupt man in the Dáil, Michael Lowry. Someone asked, motion of no confidence for Verona Murphy. That is certainly where we may end up. We need to see how she behaves, how she rules in the next number of days. If she was to come down hard and say, no, we're going to let them in, they're going to let them do this is the way it's going to be, well then, yeah, I think that's definitely what we'd have to be looking at. Who else is in the PPP technical group? Seamus Healy, I'm guessing. So the technical group that PPP is in is called the Independents and Parties Group, and it is People for Profit, Solidarity, so Ruth Coppinger, myself, it's Seamus Healy, it's Catherine Connolly, it's Brian Stanley, it's Charles Ward from the 100% Redress Group. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anybody. 4, 5, 6, 7. any other questions? I mean, the main thing I would say to you all, hey Karen, is just that it's a good thing that the government got blocked today. Don't be believing any of their nonsense about how terrible this is for democracy. It was funny when I was leaving the Dáil earlier, or leaving kind of the chamber to go back to my offices. I was going by what's called the members' restaurant, right, which is where it's like TDs can have dinner there, but also TDs and can invite people to go in and have dinner there or whatever. And you'd often see, like, you know, TDs would bring people in for a visit or whatever. And you'd often get a sense that, oh, like, maybe these are all a bunch of like kind of older Fianna Fáilers or Fine Gaelers. But anyway, there was some older men, who I presume were Fianna Fáilers or Fine Gaelers, hanging around outside the restaurant. And we were leaving the Dáil, and one of them was like, "You childish brats, it's a disgrace, it's a disgrace," just going mad because their like big day out of Micheál Martin becoming Taoiseach has been, didn't happen in the way they wanted it to happen. But like, it didn't happen the way they wanted it to happen because he tried to do an absolutely rotten deal with Michael Lowry, the most profoundly corrupt man in the Dáil, to enable him to be in the opposition and in the government all at the same time, and we didn't accept it. So really, it's their own fault. But like, they're going absolutely mad about it. But it's actually interesting. If you look, there's an article, people should go on Politico.eu. Like, if you look at how actually a fair bit of the media, especially the international media, is covering it, they're covering it in a way that's reasonably objective to say, like, these people want to be in the government, want to be in the opposition. What's that about? You can't do both. Like, that's not how a parliamentary democracy works. So I think it's people need to speak out against this ridiculous narrative that there's in any way any sort of problem with democracy, with people not going along with this charade. And then we see what happens tomorrow. But we certainly won't be conceding to the idea that you can be in the opposition and in the government at the same time, that the government gets away with squeezing the time that's available to the opposition, and we'll try and keep the pressure up on them. So we'll see. I'll keep people updated tomorrow as we go. As I say, the Dáil is meant to start at 10 a.m. Tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot. Take care.